First of all, what a wonderful job. You brought holiness. Thank you, cantor and choir, and all the musicians here. How wonderful to hear that, the melody from so long ago. Today is a very unique day on our Jewish calendar. We dress differently. Notice our white kippot. Did you see the wonderful white kippot as you entered in? And running shoes. I got new ones for this occasion. After 12 years, they were a little worn down. And we look around the room at all the beautiful talesim, the prayer shawls that people are wearing. The only night of the whole year where the entire congregation, anyone who would like, is able to wear. We conduct ourselves differently too, refraining from eating and drinking, bathing in perfume. We pray differently. This is the day in the Jewish year with 6 unique services, most important, Kol Nidrei and Ne'ilah at the end. One of my favorite unique Yom Kippur traditions involves the Shema. It's a relatively simple tradition. Instead of just reciting the first line of the Shema together out loud, and this is throughout the Jewish world, we recite the second line as well. In a big, strong voice, we will sing in the high holiday melody, Nusach, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And at equal strength and vitality, we will also call out, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. The reason for this is obscure. It's unknown. But the effect is magical. By saying the second line loud as the first, we are encouraging one another here on our holiest days to reveal what is hidden in ourselves, to uncover what has been tucked away, to be open and honest with God, ourselves, and with one another. As many languages as human beings speak, and as verbose as we can be, we often are not very forthcoming. If I ask you the question, passing by, how are you doing? Ma nishma, as we say in Hebrew. Probably you'd say, fine, I'm doing fine. Or perhaps in Hebrew, tov. If we're with someone that we really trust, a friend, a loved one, we may go a little further, revealing a little more of what is going on in our lives. But as soon as we do, it begins to get complicated. We often revert to simple explanations when deeper ones are required. In my chaplaincy days, I learned the art of active listening with the goal of hearing more of what is below the surface of the conversation. I would ask questions. What do you mean by what you said? Tell me more. To try to help the person clarify what they meant. Not only for me to understand, the listener, but also for them to understand. So often, it's hard for us to understand ourselves. The rabbis of the Talmud have a similar technique when it comes to Torah study. We call it Pardes by the acronym. The P standing for Pshat. First, we look for the simple meaning. Then the Remez, the hinted meaning. Then we go to Drash, the explained meaning, until finally we arrive at Sod, the secret meaning. To really hear one another, we need to go beyond the simple surface level of Shema Yisrael to reveal the Baruch Shem Kavod hiding underneath. To that end, I would like to ask your indulgence to share my own Baruch Shem Kavod with you. It has to do with the health of my beautiful, amazing wife, Ashira, who's in the back there. And I thank her for giving me permission to share this more openly with our community tonight. Sometime last summer, Ashira started noticing that her left ear was feeling a bit funny, almost as if she was traveling at a high altitude. She didn't think much of it, assuming it was just wax that would build up there. At the same time, she started having intensive dizzy spells that would make her have to lie down. These spells got worse and worse until by last October, it was clear that there was something more going on. After a series of doctor's appointments and tests, she was given the diagnosis of Meniere's disease, a vestibular disorder of the inner ear that causes hearing loss, tinnitus, dizziness, and vertigo. More than 500,000 Americans are affected by it. Is anyone else here affected by it? Yeah. With over 40,000 new cases every year. It turns out the fullness she was experiencing in her left ear was not a temporary state, but a permanent state. We soon learned that she would never have hearing in that ear again. Worse than that, there are the unpredictable vertigo attacks she experiences that can suddenly leave her incapacitated, sometimes for several hours, but maybe several days. To those of you like myself who have never experienced vertigo, it's not fun. Ashira compares it to being on a tilt-a-wheel and a roller coaster at the same time and not being able to get off. These can come at any time and any place, seemingly without explanation. Like many in our room that have chronic conditions, this has been a big adjustment for Ashira, for the kids, and for myself. We have had to curtail long trips and prepare for the day-to-day with a good deal of uncertainty. Ashira told me the hardest thing of all about everything has been to have to ask for help. So often, we don't want to. We want to do things ourselves. We are so blessed to have good friends and community members who stepped in at a moment's notice to provide transportation or take care of kids. Having no immediate family in Western New York, and welcome, I know my mom's watching from Philadelphia, we are reliant on non-family members to assist us. We are also so lucky to have an amazing care team at the Dent Tower, many who specialize in Meniere's. Over time, we've had more coping mechanisms than we had at the beginning. Facing illness or injury of any type is not just about the physical adjustments you have to make, but about the emotional and spiritual ones as well. That we are at this point of being able to share this journey with you on Yom Kippur is indicative just how far we have come since last October. So often in our lives, we believe we need to face our challenges alone. And while sometimes this can be necessary and important, it can take a heavy toll on our overall health and well-being. Ashir and I put this out here tonight, not because we seek any specific help, but that in sharing our Baruch Shem Kavod, we will not be alone with it. Mental health-related issues, job loss, financial struggles, drug and alcohol addictions, identity struggles, chronic illness, and declining health all carry with them stigma and shame. We want so much to be okay, but we are so often not. How do we give ourselves permission to be fully seen and heard? How do we support one another in times of crisis? How do we create communities of care that guide us through the unknown? How do we support and uplift our Baruch Shem Kavod, not just on Yom Kippur, but all year round? Part of the impetus for my talk tonight is something my friend and colleague, Rabbi Lauren Grabel Herman, shared with her community on Rosh Hashanah. In January of 2020, her oldest child, a child for whom I officiated at his naming ceremony, told his parents that he had active thoughts of suicide. For the past 2 years, he has been in intensive treatment and is thankfully now fully in recovery. She told her community at SAJ, Judaism Stands for All, on the Upper West Side, I share from my experience not only to be seen, but to allow others in our community to be and feel seen. Because even though my story is particularly unique, most of us have our own versions of this story. And most importantly, I share this story as an invitation to individual and collective teshuvah, repentance and repair, so that we can consider how to change our own perspectives and behaviors, individually and as a community. We do so for the sake of saving lives. which, as our tradition teaches, is like saving worlds. The struggle that she and her family have endured break my heart. The uncommon bravery she showed, and most importantly, the uncommon bravery of her son showed, is a gift to us all. This is the same gift I hope you will receive through our story. So many of us struggle in ways it's hard to name. I stand before you as someone who may look calm and collected, healthy and happy, and most days I probably am. But I too carry the burden of chronic illness. 2 decades ago, I started experiencing various lower abdominal pains. This led to bleeding and anemia. At one point, it was so bad that I ended up in the hospital right before Yom Kippur. Thankfully, I have a great team of doctors around me, and I know how to manage it better. I have also learned how very important it is to drink fluids. If you see me with my blue water bottle, that's the reason. Rabbi Lauren asked her community to imagine what it would look like if the synagogue were truly a place in which people can share their truth, pursue treatment, and reach out for support without fear of judgment. In many ways, this is what we are trying to do right here at Congregation Shir Shalom. Over the course of the pandemic, we saw our role as a synagogue as being that to provide respite from all that was happening in the world around us. We encouraged our members to reach out to one another. When someone couldn't travel, we went to them. We opened our doors as wide as we possibly could. In my vision of our community, this is not just the way our congregation should function at extreme times, but it is the way we should function all the time. To that end, I have preliminary conversation with Matthew Stewart at Jewish Family Service to help provide social workers and counselors in our building at regular times. We've also built a strong network of people, both in our staff and volunteer leadership, to listen and to attend to those in need. Just by show of hands, who has listened to someone else in this community and been a support for them? It warms my heart each and every time I see them. In addition, I hope you know that my door is always open. Please call, contact me anytime you need. Throughout the course of the next 24 hours, you will be hearing the collective cries and anguish of our people, compiled over the past 3,000 years. The writers of this liturgy knew it was okay for us not to be okay. As we read in the Haftorah from the book of Isaiah, Kara b'garon al tashchok, cry from the depth, do not hold back. Think about your own cries from the depth. What hidden needs in the second line of the Shema trying to help you reveal? What would it mean to voice it to yourself or to another? What support might you need to help you better cope? So many challenges we face in our life seem insurmountable. We look to one another for guidance. We might not have all the answers, but all of us together might at least have some of them. May we find hope and healing from one another, an easy and meaningful fast ahead. Take a moment to contemplate your own Baruch Shem Kavod. If you want, you can share it with the person next to you, or just hold it in your heart.